The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
So the leash is off, and it's time to fight. Now, you gonna fight? You gonna fight? You gonna fight when we have them down? I know that. Are we gonna fight? Are we gonna fight when they have the ball on our 1 yard line? Are we gonna fight if they go up 14-0? Are we gonna go fight if we're up 14-0? Sherm said it. It's 0-0 on the board. It's 0-0 on the board. He said it, but we said a lot of things. We've said a lot of things. It's time people feel us. I'm tired of people not knowing who you really are. But do you know who you really are? I saw it on Sunday. I saw it on Tuesday. Now somebody else got to see it. They say a man who gets down on his knees has forgotten how to die. Ain't nobody here gets down on their knees today. You fight if it means you die. You fight, you fight, you fight, and you take for once what we want. Enough of this waiting for something good to happen. Who's the guy that's supposed to make the difference? I'm surrounded by it. Now you guys freaking do it. We on the same page? Yes, sir. Fight, fight, fight. Tag and get us right.
Welcome to it. Eye black being put on. Goosebumps being shown. Mark Cranack is here.
Have goosebumps.
Bill Dolman and Elijah Herbal. We're here for the weekend edition here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate. Noon to 2 today. You're invited out. Get a cold beer. Get a Guinness if your name's Dolman, and get a big old steak, or pick something out on the wall of whiskey. Welcome to the weekend edition. It's Nebraska-Northwestern week. We just heard from Matt Rhule. Yes, the eye black is on, ready to run through the wall. Northwestern's milling around out in the lobby. The buses are to our left. You can watch the show as we stream on the Hail Varsity YouTube channel, Hail Varsity Radio, Twitter feed, KFOR, Facebook, and Twitter as well. And this is the first year, and it's sad to say this, that Fitz doesn't roll by the table and say, "Go Cats."
Yeah.
So it's really weird to not see him milling around here, but Northwestern looks locked in. Nebraska.
Is he getting a car wash? Is that why he couldn't stop by?
No,
okay.
I don't know if he's
that's what was happening
at a car wash or not. That is Mark Cranack and Elijah Herbal back in studio. Bill Dolman to our right, as we are excited to bring you pregame here with Nebraska-Northwestern. Fellas, how we doing? We locked in. Cranack, you're taking Junior to the ball game.
Yeah, two juniors today. I'm taking them both.
Oh, good for you. Are you getting volleyball too?
Well, I'm considering it. However, I don't know if I'm prepared.
Bank?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm prepared to. What is the going rate for those right now? That's got to be
minimum 200 is what I've heard.
Oof.
Minimum.
And how much did they pay us on this show?
Well, yeah. The response, if Carson was asking me, "Dad, can I go to the volleyball game?" is, "I don't love you that much."
Yeah. Well, right. Right. And then you drop, if you're prepared to drop that kind of money, and then they end up losing.
Well, yeah.
It's like, did we really just pay $600 for sadness? Like, it's just, I'll drop 100 for potential sadness. 600,
yeah.
That's kind of pushing it. I don't know. Feeling good though, right? Aren't we? It's one of the, probably, knock on wood, one of the last beautiful fall days. As far as a game day is concerned. So that should not be much of a factor today in terms of weather and all that. You're facing a Northwestern team that, they're pretty pedestrian. They have been for a while, but they're nerds. Doesn't mean they won't have a good game plan, right? They could. The series has been tight. It's and as you think about Nebraska coming into this, you're just sort of like, are you worried about Northwestern? Are you worried about X opponent? It's more about, I feel like Nebraska can play with anybody left on their schedule. It's just whether or not they're going to literally hand the other team the ball. And, right?
It's still,
are you going to hand the other team the ball?
it's still about Nebraska, Elijah.
And really fast here, I just want to say I'm making the executive decision. For our stream listeners, you'll see what I'm talking about. If you listen on the radio, you might not get what I'm saying, but I'm going to remove the Hail Varsity Radio bug from the upper right. It's been covering Mark's face up a little bit. I think we all know at this point, this is Hail Varsity Radio. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbo, Bill Dolman, Mark Kranak. I don't think we need the bug to tell people. So Mark's face is not covered on the stream. As much as we'd like to avoid seeing Mark's face, I think it's an important part of the show. So we're going to remove the bug for now. Maybe we'll bring it back.
Bottom right corner.
I thought he was on the lam and you were hiding his identity.
Well,
the old Henry Hill treatment.
I am throwing out the stuff.
I like it.
Yeah.
Sauter Heyman, your friends at Sauter Heyman, Rick and the crew helping power this road show here at noon to 2 at the Single Barrel. And guys, it's right on, Kranak, with a lot of this season is still about what Nebraska does or doesn't do. And Bill, you have a backup quarterback in the mix for Northwestern that instead of seeing killing quarterback Ben Bryant, he is out. It's going to be Brendan Sullivan. The Sullivan crew he's more of a dual threat guy, but a little more discipline potentially needed by this defense today if you're Nebraska.
He might be the better of the two quarterbacks. This could be a blessing in disguise for Northwestern. When you take a look at Bryant's numbers, he has about 1,000 yards through the air and about 1,000 yards losses in rushing. So it kind of balances out that way. But with him not playing today, they made that announcement this morning that the starter who did not play, did not play much of the game last week against Howard in their big win at home in front of literally dozens of people. But they brought the backup in, and he's much more of a dual threat and maybe a little bit more elusive in the pocket. So that might be a little bit more of a challenge for Nebraska's defense as they try to, rack up a few sacks against this offense that is, as Mark said, fairly pedestrian.
I'm having some Kane Coulter flashbacks here. Is that what we're talking about? I mean, can you get out like that?
I pray no. I mean, You want to talk about celebrating 100 years of Memorial Stadium, and fans found their way to the stadium yesterday between 4:30 and 7 last night to get pictures. And Northwestern's had their share of moments here since the moving into the Big Ten. 8-5, make that 5-3. Total of 8 games decided by one score. Northwestern's record is 5-3, and they've done well at Memorial Stadium.
Yeah.
The last time Nebraska won in Lincoln was the bludgeoning of 2021, but you have to go back to the Hail Mary game 10 years ago.
Right.
2013 for Nebraska. Nebraska's wins against Northwestern just a handful of times.
What about wasn't there the Lane McCallum kick? Is that 2019? Where he walks
That was
off?
it, yeah, where you had the knuckleball through the sea of hands.
Barely.
Thank you for that correction. But yes, so they've won their last 2 against Northwestern, but it doesn't feel like it, I guess is where I'm going.
No.
Is Northwestern always finds a way to have some big quarterback come in and, oh no, he's keeping the football on his own read and scamper for 60 yards or it's some sort of overtime. And it's always the alternative uniform game, it feels like.
Yeah, it really is, even on the road. And so today being the alternative uniform game, but
don't get me started.
Let's be honest about Nebraska's alternative uniforms.
Don't get me started.
For a second. I would love to get you
started.
It's
a Millard South Tribute.
But seriously, Nebraska has how come it's always the extremes, right? So how come, 2012 Wisconsin, I believe, where it's like the Noid
like
thing,
the old
the
Pizza Hut
Scrabble uniforms.
Yeah, you couldn't, the contrast on the number, you couldn't even tell who was who. It was off, just terrible.
You're getting me started.
And then you switch to these quote unquote alternate uniforms, which is literally just like a blue outline.
Okay, I'm okay. I can live with that. Okay,
is that all we're doing?
I can't live.
What if there's blue gloves involved today, Dolman?
First of all, they need to get rid of gloves in football. Period. Okay,
tell that to my boy.
That's another topic for another day. But okay,
there's a whole subculture devoted to football gloves.
I got it. I know, and specialized and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Look, the subtle blue outline of the number today, I can live with. But when we rated those purple uniforms that one year, when they raided Lincoln High's high school locker room to have alternative uniforms. And God knows we've had one too many tributes to the black shirt uniforms.
Those haven't gone well.
No.
Ever. And look, you go back to 1980, what was it, 6, and we wore all red for Oklahoma. It gave an incredible effort against a team that was far superior, nearly won that game. I should have tackled Keith Jackson. But
that wouldn't have gone well either.
Okay, so Nebraska wore all red, and it was like, well, there is no way we are ever going to do that again. And since 1986, Nebraska has never worn all red uniforms. Yet we continue to try to do these merchandising schemes where we're getting these ugly uniforms that don't represent Nebraska at all. People can't identify it. They turn on the game at Memorial Stadium and they go, well, who's playing there? You should never turn on a game at Memorial Stadium and question who the team is on the field, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, the subtle blue I can live with, but no more black shirt tributes, especially when you can't play like one. No more purple. No more Lincoln High. You got me started. I told you not to get me started.
Hey, but before Bill gets too old man yelling at the clouds here, there have been some good ones because the All Reds against Oklahoma back in the day.
God, why?
I know the All Reds back. They hold a special place in some Husker fans' hearts despite the loss. Those are the ugliest alternate uniforms Nebraska has ever worn. I hated the All Reds whenever you see old pictures of those. Those are bad. There's been a couple good ones though. Don't act like there hasn't been good ones.
People didn't want to wear the red because we lost. We can't do that ever again. Well, we wore all white at Iowa State the year that Marv Seiler ran crazy through us, and we wore white again after that. And that hasn't exactly – it might be kind of cool. I got it. I know. But it hasn't exactly turned out.
But the all-white record's not good.
But, Bill, you do have a good point, though. The alternates that have been the best have been the subtle changes. That's why I'm hopeful today that these are going to look decent on the field. The ones at Oklahoma where they changed their face mask, those ones are awesome. I like the ones that they wore against Buffalo a couple years ago that had the NU on the side of the helmet.
Yeah, that was sweet.
I didn't like that they're wearing white at home, but I could get down with those. And then you have the tribute to I believe it was the 97 team, where it's pretty much just the same Husker uniforms, except the numbers had the mesh look to them. I quite enjoyed those uniforms, despite the fact Nebraska lost the game. It's been the games that are subtle switches that have been appreciated that I have enjoyed, and maybe that is a good sign for today. The fact that just a slight blue outline, maybe you won't even notice it from the TV cameras. Maybe I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for the alternate uniforms today. I don't want to spend too long on them because at the end of the day, the alternate uniforms really don't matter all that much. But I'm hopeful for today.
The matted all whites at Northwestern were probably my favorites as we move on. You have Brennan chiming in from the Black Hills. He's in South Dakota, pheasant season, the opener. He's watching a little football with Nebraska and volleyball. That's his day. Pheasants, football, volleyball. And I hope he gets him some pheasants.
I thought he got one. I saw on social media he already got himself one. So
he got one already? All right. We're down here at the Single Barrel. I don't know that they have pheasant on the menu, but they have a giant board where you too can.
It's a meat board, right?
It is. You can tribute Elijah Herbal and myself where you get 2 steaks, you get a burger, you get a sausage, you get brisket.
Oh,
and
Nebraska
it is flat out incredible. It is. It's beautiful, and it tastes better than it sounds.
Get some meat sweats going.
Right? Yeah. And you just hammer it. It's wonderful.
Top 5 steak all time here.
Yeah.
Top 5.
It is good.
Yeah.
It is good.
So you're invited down here inside the Graduate 9th and P here. Single Barrel Weekend Edition of Hail Varsity.
What are we making of Matt Rhule's speech? It
was awesome.
Let's lay down a disclaimer real quick.
You showed me the goosebumps you had.
It doesn't mean that it's going to work and Nebraska is going to run the table. It does not mean that. But in the for what it's worth column, how pleased are you to hear a coach speak with that level of intensity and emotion and about the right things, right? Like there was, if you picture yourself in that locker room, you're about as that's all you could hope for from your coach. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, was there anything in there where you're like, where it's an eye roller?
No.
Or you're just like, oh my God,
there's no strain. Can you feel it?
Right. Was it like, we're going to be in a boat and we're going to burn the boats and then we're going to, everybody's in the boat and there's boats and like you're doing analogies and all this crap. Like he just brought it of just like, man, I've seen you all, the way you get after it in practice and you clam up on the damn field is basically what he was saying. And he's like, stop that crap, right? Like stop it and fight I love it. I think it is. Will it pay off? Will it work? Will it make a difference? I don't know, but for a team that is typically within a score of equal competition, that could be just a little extra boost, right? If you get somebody to play a little bit more out of their minds than they maybe normally would,
a little freer,
right? Like very pleasing.
I like the quit waiting for something good to happen or quit waiting for something bad to happen. It seems like Elijah, Bill, that's been the mentality for so long. Once something goes sideways, and they experienced that in Michigan where their eyes kind of dropped out of the gate. Now we know why, because they knew what plays were being called. Michigan did. But it's really
that's a whole
being spoken into existence, but he's authentic.
Yeah.
Rhule's authentic with what he's preaching, with how they're practicing, and he's really trying to get him to apply it to the field.
I remember all those times that Coach Osborne went all Maximus with his team.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah. What we do in life echoes in eternity.
It's not the only way to do it.
Right. So okay, yeah, I'm still on the lawn. All right, I'm shaking my cane outside of Safeway, whatever. All right, but.
Well, think about it, Bill. Do you want to fire up the Peter brothers too much? Like, those guys bring their own juice. If we die, we die in the locker room. Heads will roll before the game even starts.
I was around for the cut forehead and all of that stuff. All right, so
we may need you to reset that one.
Well, that's a Christian Peter thing, as I recall.
Eating glass.
Took a bat. No. That was a different concert. Look. It is entertaining, and it is certainly getting attention for Matt Rhule and his program and who he is. And it's a side of him that they certainly didn't see at Temple, because I'm sure they didn't have the money to have cameras on them every moment of every day.
No.
Baylor certainly would want to protect what was being said in the locker room, right?
Because there's a lot of murder plotting that happens in there. You got to be careful.
Yeah. So. If we baptize, we baptize. So Matt Rhule is at the perfect stage, or on the perfect stage at Nebraska, where people are hungry for that, and they have the production crew in place, all that talent. I think Matt Rhule is probably the executive producer of those GB Rewind shows. I mean, nothing is going to escape there that he does not have, eyes on, right? But I wonder with those speeches, as entertaining as they are and as motivating as they are, and perhaps they have their place right now for Nebraska football, but can you do that? And I think that's always been the question about, pregame speeches like that. Can you do that week after week after week after week? And then eventually it just kind of fizzles out a little bit. And it's like, what are they going to say? What's he going to say today? What's the performance going to be? He's pushed all the right buttons with those, it seems like, for the past 3 or 4 weeks. And even after the Michigan game, after the loss, was pretty pointed. And I saw a headline that said Matt Rhule calls his team losers. And then if you go on to read the article and hear what he said, it's like, he's challenging them. And that's great. But can you continue to do that every week, have that performance art, and motivate them in the same way? Or do you need to dial it back and pace yourself?
You got to see results. And they're starting to see some results.
Well, and
I think that's big.
Well, and I think it depends on, too, is it authentic? So there was nothing on there that came across to me that he was being somebody he's not.
Totally agree with you.
Right? Like
totally agree.
The pitch of his voice hit a different pitch. Like he was feeling it, what he was saying. And so in that way, if you compare it to, say, an Osborne, who did not act like that, but he was also himself, right? Like that is Rhule. Rhule is a energetic, communicative, loud,
preacher.
Pays attention. Right. Preacher's son, pays attention to a lot of details. He's finicky, he's fiery, he's all like, that's who he is. And he comes across like that. If he was trying to all of a sudden be stoic T.O., that wouldn't work. If T.O. was trying to sound like Rhule, people would have been like, he done gone crazy. Like he literally just snapped right in front of us. This is not good. So as long as you are yourself, my guess is he doesn't have to ramp it up to that level or he's trying to get his program to the level to where he does not have to do that. But clearly, they need something extra, with the performance they had against Michigan, and with how you're going to win like this. Nebraska's wins are going to be disgusting this year, like offensive to the eyes, offensive to the senses, just right. Like it is not pretty. That is not pretty ball that they're playing right now. But that's the only chance they have to win, right? The only chance they have to win is exactly what he was talking about, where it's like, you got to treat every play as its own war and get out of your damn head. Quit worrying about, what does this mean for the rankings or the standings or are they going to boo us? We're like, just literally every snap, just beat the crap out of the dude in front of you. And at the end of the game, we might have a shot to win this thing.
Well, Mark, something I said earlier this week on our show was that winning ugly is still better than the alternative, because Scott Frost had a closet full of pretty losses during his time at Nebraska. At the end of the day, they're losses, though. When you look at the Big Ten West, who's on top of the Big Ten West right now? It's the team that plays uglier than anybody in Iowa. But guess
maybe
what?
In the history
in the history of college football.
Like modern football. Like, I'm serious. Go on. But
it doesn't matter.
Disgusting.
It doesn't matter at all, because that is how you get it done in the Big Ten West. And you saw it against Illinois. It was ugly, but Nebraska, despite how ugly it looked in the second half, as I look back on that game, Nebraska was, at least in some sense, in control of that football game because of what their defense was putting on the field. And that's what I think a sign of progress will be for this Husker football team today, as we talked about earlier this week again, is can they be in control of this game in all three phases from start to finish? I'm not saying they're going to go win this football game like 50 like they did back in 2021. That was a team that was in control of all three phases in a pretty convincing manner. I'm not saying Nebraska does that today, but that's a sign of progress. Can Nebraska be in control in some way, shape, or form in the three phases of this game, so that you're, as a Husker fan, not sitting there in the fourth quarter worried about the outcome of this game? Maybe you can start looking ahead to volleyball by the time the fourth quarter comes around, because of how convincingly Nebraska has taken control of this football game. And maybe that looks like 17-6, but you're in control and Northwestern can't move the football, and you can pick up some first downs offensively and run the clock. You'll feel like you're in control of that football game, despite the fact that you're only up by 11. That's how I think I see this football game going today. But that is your sign of progress for the Huskers today. Can you remain in control offensively, defensively, and with your special teams? If you can do that, that means Nebraska is moving in the right direction.
Well put. Do you show up? Do you take care of business in front of the home crowd? You've had special visitors this week. Coach McBride, Uncle George is always on standby, watching practice and checking in, and Jared Tomich on hand, and that's been pretty cool. And I know Rhule talked a little bit about that, but it really comes back down to Nebraska handling Nebraska, and we've said that for years, over the years, when it comes to matchups like this. Nebraska v. Purdue, Nebraska v. Northwestern, Nebraska v. Illinois, Wisconsin and Iowa kind of off to the side because of what their records have been. But Nebraska has some things that are advantageous. Yes, you're at home, but Northwestern comes in. We've already highlighted the backup quarterback part of this discussion, and they're challenged. Nebraska's been challenged by their head coach to really kind of play like Northwestern's been playing, guys. They played and they've been galvanized because of what happened to Fitz. They've been galvanized because of how they've rallied around their interim coach Braun, and they've really just kind of gone us against the world, or they're playing despite what the university has done to the guy they came to play for. And Nebraska's been challenged by their head coach to be a little bit like Northwestern today, to come out and do yourself proud, have your own value. Now, can Nebraska get downhill and run against a team that is susceptible to that? Can Nebraska hit some big plays with a quarterback that's making start number 5? Can you get Fedoni loose? There's all sorts of questions here. I mean, it says on paper here, Northwestern's good for about, 5 big plays a game. I mean, they've given up 76 plays of over 20 yards this season. Jeez. And you've got an offense in Nebraska that's been limited with their big plays. There's been a handful here and there, but
mainly
that's
on
really,
the ground.
that's really been the missing part of what makes you feel better about this team? You feel good about the defense. Special teams has been a little bit of a work in progress, but can the offense take another step and get caught up, fellas, with where they're at in this complementary football discussion that's avoided Nebraska? When we've seen it, it's flipped the ball game in Nebraska's wins.
Listen, at Minnesota, it was week 1, of course. But, you know, our seats were pretty close. We were pretty close to the field, and you get to see different, you have a different experience while you're sitting that close, and you can see subtleties that maybe you can't see from far away or on TV. When you're watching that game, if you were just to take the uniforms off, disguise who was who, right? A 99 out of 100 people polled would have said that team right here, speaking of Nebraska, plays harder and has better players. Like it was so clear. Mm-hmm. Minnesota was like their quarterback was running for his life. They were having to to use that Diaco term that Chris so lovely
the strain.
The strain. They were really having to strain for anything they got. Nebraska's better. They play harder. Straight up. It doesn't mean you're going to win though, right? Because again, if you hand the ball to the other team, and then they get to eat 7 minutes, and that 7 minutes you could have spent driving and scoring, of course, that's going to catch up with you. But I do take a little comfort after watching that and then seeing how the rest of the year has gone. And, Michigan outclassed them. Mm-hmm. Did they have the assistance of cheating, perhaps? But they also that's a precision team, though, right? They're just dialed into a different level of execution than most other teams. Outside of that, Nebraska's not outclassed by anybody they're playing. Mm. And that's even with all the injuries, right? That's even with your top receivers out. Nebraska doesn't have game breakers at receiver that we've seen, but you heard Rhule mention it today, this week. You got a 4x100 team as your freshman receivers. If you can get a little bit out of those guys, hello, Nebraska's got a super fast receiving core that doesn't know what the hell they're doing yet. Right. Yeah. If with this off week, if you could get those guys right, that could be a component of Nebraska's offense that could really change the direction and the outlook for the rest of the year.
But the thing is,
the offense.
Go for it. I was just gonna, but quickly on the receivers. The thing is you talk about the 100-meter dash speed that these guys have, the speed that they have. But in a game like today, the speed is not the most important thing these wide receivers can do. Getting open, while it's important, is not the most important thing. It's getting those blocks downfield, springing a guy like Anthony Grant or Emmett Johnson, giving them some rushing lanes, because Schmidt laid it out. Northwestern gives up big plays at a massive clip. And based on what I've seen from the Husker offense today, or this year,
ground.
I don't think the Husker offense is going to get those big plays in the air. That's not a knock against Heinrich Harburg or the wide receivers. It's just a simple fact of the matter. It's not what Nebraska wants to do with this offense. It's not what Nebraska is good at doing with this offense. How they're going to get those big plays is on the ground, on the legs of Heinrich Harburg, the legs of Anthony Grant. And if those receivers can block well downfield, that's what's going to spring those plays, because your offensive line, it's going to wear on the Northwestern defensive line. I don't think there's going to be massive rushing lanes opened up all day long, but whenever you do get that rushing lane, it's the wide receivers that turn a 10-yard gain into a 20 or a 25-yard gain through their downfield blocking. That's the most important thing those guys can do today, because I'm not convinced that Nebraska's offense, at least this year, will ever be downfield passing attack using the 10-4 speed of Malachi Coleman or Jalen Lloyd or Jaden Doss. It's just not how Nebraska's offense is built this year, especially with who they have at quarterback. So the most important thing those guys can do is block successfully down the football field and spring some big runs.
And I think that's one of the reasons why maybe those young players haven't gotten on the field yet, is they haven't understood that that's a significant part of what you need to do, A, in college football, and B, with this particular Nebraska offense where it is at this point in the season. You have to go down and you've got to be physical. And when all of those track stars were, starring in high school football, they're going against, defensive backs that might go about 5'9" and 150, right?
And don't run a 10-4.
And don't run, right. So so they're not being asked, they weren't being asked to do there what they would be asked to do in college, and certainly with this particular Nebraska offense where it is because of all of the injuries. Now, they are not passing the baton, however, to those guys. They are trying to pass the football to those guys. So it's incumbent on Harburg or Sims if it gets in there, it's incumbent on them to have some type of relationship with where to put the ball, how far those guys are going to run, how fast are they going to get to where they need to be, and how fast can they get the ball released. There are a lot of other things at play when you've got that speed and you've got a quarterback and they haven't played a lot of, haven't had a lot of playing time together. But about this Nebraska offense, though, at this point in the season, many of the injuries they've had to adjust. They've had time to a certain extent to adjust to. We know that Harburg, 4 weeks ago, we didn't know what kind of quarterback he was going to be because Jeff Sims had just gotten hurt. Okay, Harburg's in there. We've seen him for 4 games now. He's going to make his 5th career start. We pretty much know what Nebraska has in him. Then you've got Irvin out. You've got Johnson out, and you're relying on Anthony Grant, who's got fumble problems, right? Yep. So is it Fleeks? Is it Johnson? Is it, who is the next guy up for Nebraska in the backfield?
Yeah.
They've had time to at least adjust to the fact that they don't have the same parts that they did at the beginning of the season. Correct. So the offense should be a work in progress, but by now, especially after an off week, there should be progress. We should see progress. Agreed. We should see an evolution to where this offense is capable of running the option effectively. That Harburg is not as tentative in pitching with his right or pitching with his left. Yeah. The offensive line should understand who's behind me in the tailback position. We know that Fedoni is capable. What is Malachi Coleman and Dawson Lloyd and all those guys? How have they evolved? This should be a plateau moment, a plateau game for Nebraska's offense to see where it's come in the last 4 weeks, because nothing has been an emergency really for them for a month now. All right. And they're going to get better as the season goes on. That's why I'm going to Indianapolis, and you guys are invited.
Well, Dolman will get the big red bus going. Hail Varsity weekend here at the Single Barrel. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal, and Mark Kranak, Bill Dolman, Sauter Heyman, host Power of the Road Show. Got to get that quick in there. You were going to add a point, Elijah.
I'm just going to say we do need to take a break. I'm going to be the professional here and say we do need to get that. It's been 33 minutes here of fantastic.
Are you saying we've been unprofessional?
It's Kranak's fault. It's always Kranak's
fault. I'm just going to be the adult in the room here and say, hey, the sponsors need to get their time in. They do allow us to
we'll keep talking. I want to come back though.
Wasn't even alive
to these freshman wide receivers and the offensive lift they can provide. But hang tight.
But quickly here, we do have a question, and I want to throw this in before the end of the break here because Brent, he's a new listener. He wants to know if Clausburn is fictional or real. He's a real person. Clausburn is not his name, his identity, a closely guarded secret. You'll have to kill us to figure out who he actually is.
Brent, witness protection. Yeah. Clausburn is imaginary, and he wears red.
All we know.
Is hilarious.
Yeah, he went all in on Penn State yesterday, shockingly enough.
Oh, my God.
I cringe every time we have to put a Penn State prediction
You are not
up.
the only person that wants to know. I was receiving texts yesterday after that Penn State prediction from Clausburn. Who is this guy? I don't know, man.
He does walk around with a Hail Varsity logo over his face so that you can't see his identity.
His voice in public is constantly changed. Identity. Like those mafia documentaries where the guy's got the shadow over his face and his voice sounds like the low robot. That's how he constantly lives his life.
From Nat Geo.
Matt Rhule.
Pretty good. We'll step away for a moment. More of the weekend edition of Hail Varsity here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate, powered by Sauter Heyman, Chris Schmidt, Mark Kranak, Bill Dolman, Elijah Herbal, as we power forward here as Nebraska gets ready for Northwestern.
This is Scott Trout of Cordell & Cordell. If you're a dad who is facing divorce, there are extra layers of stress that may include stereotypes and assumptions. No two situations are the same. Our legal experience and dedication prepare us for whatever legal challenges we face together. You need a partner you can count on. For more than 30 years, Cordell & Cordell has represented men in divorce.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Lincoln area attorneys. 1221 N Street, Suite 801, Lincoln, Nebraska 68508.
Retired or retiring soon? How much money do you need to live comfortably? Retirement Planners of America is here for you. Would you like to have financial peace of mind? Here's how. Step 1. find out the amount of money you'll need to retire. Step 2, have a plan to get there. Step 3, make sure that plan can take advantage of market gains but protect you from market losses. Discover how to do all 3 with a free consultation at 800-508-6108. That's 800-508-6108.
All investments involve risk, including losses. Past performance does not guarantee future results.
Jim Gaffigan here with some more Straight Talk. Now you can get a Walmart Plus membership, plus not pay for it, because it's included with Straight Talk wireless plans. You get free delivery with Walmart Plus a Paramount Plus subscription included. Plus, you pay less for gas. That's a lot of pluses.
Only Straight Talk gives you unlimited 5G data and Walmart Plus included on select plans for free.
Straight Talk wireless, available at Walmart.
Requires service on Gold or Platinum Unlimited. One offer per eligible account. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. Additional terms apply.
Exergen thermometers are proven to be more accurate than non-contact thermometers. With children back at school, keeping them healthy is important. Clinical studies have proven that non-contact thermometers are inaccurate and can miss fevers. Accuracy matters. That's why the Exergen thermometer is trusted and used by medical professionals. Exergen thermometers are available at many fine retailers. Choose a trusted and accurate thermometer for personal use. Learn more about why accuracy matters. Available at Walmart and participating retailers. Learn more at Exergen.com.
A lot of schools talk about training the cybersecurity workforce of the future, but do they really deliver? My Computer Career has been supplying the IT workforce with thousands of skilled, certified pros for 15 years. Train with the experts in support, networking, or cybersecurity and start your career in months, not years. Upskill even faster. On campus or live online. Qualified students may get financial aid, including the GI Bill. My Computer Career. Accredited, acclaimed, effective. Take the free career evaluation at mycomputercareer.edu.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? A man age 50 non-tobacco user can obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $110 per month. Level rate for 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rate for 20 years. If you're a smoker, there are great rates available for you as well. Call Term Busters for a quote. 1-800-908-7636. You're probably paying more than you should. Call 1-800-908-7636.
Hail Varsity Radio is live. Now, back to Schmitty.
Schmitty's a great guy, but he don't have a brain.
And Elijah.
You want me to speak? When I point you, yeah.
On Hail Varsity Radio.
Rolling through a weekend edition here of Hail Varsity, as we're presented here on Pregames by Starter Heyman. I'm trying to get the guys' attention. I don't think they realize we've come back from commercial break. Guys? No? So it's Elijah Herbal taking you through as the guys make some conversation on this side. This is quite a funny scene here for anyone following along on this stream. It's me trying to wave down these guys and tell them that we're back from commercial break here. And they finally figured it out. Yeah, well, guys, we're back from commercial break.
Oh, yeah.
We're back.
Thanks for having us. Nice to see you.
You guys are having a lovely conversation. I didn't want to interject here, but we were back from commercial break.
We were talking about some pretty important things, including a recent commitment for Nebraska as of yesterday. Caleb Benning, the senior out of Omaha West Side, who is obviously the son of Damon Benning, former Nebraska player and current radio announcer for the Husker Sports Network.
I don't think Dad can talk about it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't think Dad can, and Dad's not on the air every day. So
I did hear Dad talk about it as I was driving in, though. So he is, whether or not he can.
Oh, okay.
He did. It's on tape. So that did happen. But the commitment itself, like, take all that stuff aside. Caleb, that is a good player. That kid can play. And since he was a sophomore, he just acted like he belonged, right? Like he's at an Omaha West Side program that's, tops in the state, basically top 2 or 3 for the last God knows how many years. And he rolls up there as a sophomore, gets a starting job as a defensive back, gets the specialist return position job, also plays offense from time to time and is a threat there. And the thing that we were talking about, the thing I like about
and suddenly all is right with the world.
Because
Guinness came
Chris rolled up with a Guinness for himself and for Bill.
Sorry to interrupt, but I got excited.
And Cranak's drinking apple juice, so we have full disclosure.
Right. That's right. So,
Elijah, we're thinking of you.
I have some mango carts in my work backpack, actually, but I'm not going to crack them open. I'm going to be a professional. Again, I'll maintain my sense of professionalism back here in the studio. Also, I think that might be some sort of offense to be. I know you can drink on the air. You can't be drunk on the air.
Right.
That's right. And I don't know if they actually do sobriety tests during shows.
Thankfully not when we were in Ireland.
I think we're rolling the dice on that right
Imagine
now.
the FCC rolls up with breathalyzers.
We are tributing the revenge game that has been Nebraska waiting a full year to get even for the international incident.
That's right.
In Dublin.
And quickly, I do want to go back to Binning here, though, before we got into the subject of drinks. My take on Caleb Binning and his commitment is just it does not matter how his Husker career turns out. I don't care if he's a multi-year starter. I don't care if he's all Big Ten. I don't care if he goes off to the NFL. I don't care if he's a special teamer. I don't care if he never sees the field. Simply put, with who his father is, the program he's playing at Westside, their success level, what he's done on the field for Westside, that was not a guy you could let leave the state. Because you've seen it before, really the past 15 years of Husker football. If that guy were to leave the state and go off to Iowa State or Iowa, South Dakota State, North Dakota State, it does not matter. He was going to end up being a multi-year starter just based on the motivation he has for letting Nebraska let him get away. We've seen the story too many times. Well, you're not good enough for Nebraska. Guess what? He's going to get drafted after a phenomenal career at South Dakota State or North Dakota State or name any program across the country. We've seen that story too many times. It's a guy you have to keep in state, keep within the program. And if he doesn't turn out to be a starter, it's okay because it's about the optics of a Matt Rhule rebuild and making sure that a guy like that does not leave the state. It's more to it than just what is this guy's future with the Husker football program. It is deeper than that. And I hope Caleb Binning turns into a multi-year starter for Nebraska. And I hope he turns into something really, really special. But if he doesn't, that's not what this recruitment is about at the end of the day. There's more to it than just that.
Yeah. Elijah, if Matt Rhule multiple times says we want to keep everybody in state here,
yes,
to the best of our ability,
that's what I'm getting.
Then they've got to do that. And they did that in getting a guy that has, you can pick a stud off the West Side team, but you can also go pick moments that Caleb's impacted a championship, a winning time for that juggernaut that is West Side football. And you just go back to the state title game a year ago. He's a difference maker, and you need more of those in Lincoln on Saturday afternoons.
Well, I'm guessing Sharpie's joining us later.
About 1:30.
After I'm gone. So Sharpie knows him a lot better, obviously, just from being co-host with Damon for years and being around his son. And so I don't claim to know him well, but I'm guessing if you ask, but I've been around him a couple times just from like beer league softball that Damon played on, and he brought his boy. This is years ago. But even when that kid was like 6, 7, he's an old soul, right? You meet those kids like that. He's just a little more advanced socially. He just he's respectful. He's all those things you would kind of hope.
The kind of kid that sits at the adult table at Thanksgiving.
And you want him to sit there
and holds his own
instead of crazy Uncle Larry.
Yeah, he's built a little different than most. But then on the field, and again, this doesn't mean he'll ever play a snap, because I thought Leon Jackson was the second coming, and that didn't work out really well.
He ended up going to Hawaii. Had a great time.
Yeah, exactly. So you never know. But what Bill and I were talking about off air when we didn't realize we were on air and should come back on
but it was
air.
insightful.
The thing that you like about him most as a defender is, at the end of the day, that is about being comfortable with collisions, right? Like you have to, especially if you're a second or third level guy, you're going to be taking on somebody that's pretty much full speed, and then you're full speed. I mean, it's high impact, high speed collisions, and you're either good with that or you're not, right? And the ones that are good with that are Mike Brown, Mike Minner, Tony Veland, Steve Atwater, Ronnie Lott, right? Like you just go on and on. Like those guys weren't necessarily more athletic than the next guy, but they did not give a bleep about full speed going right at you. Caleb has some of that in him. Again, it doesn't mean he might not be fast enough, right? He might not grow, he might not get strong enough. I don't know. But that dude is not scared at all about going full speed into an alley and just having a collision. He's all good with that, and he's displayed nothing but that ever since he started with Westside. So give me dudes like that. Give me 85 dudes like that. You're probably going to be able to find 11 that can get you some W's.
The kid that plays like he has a chip on his shoulder at all times. That mentality, as you said, plays like he has a chip on his shoulder. I've never seen Caleb Binning play in person. I'll admit it, but from all the film I've seen in the state title game from last year, the kid always looks like he's got a little extra motivation. And I know this is a Nebraska-Northwestern pregame show. We had to take a second for this one, though, because it is big news when an in-state kid
big commitment.
It's a big commitment, and the kid just plays like he has a chip on his shoulder. And I know from playing football and from watching football for most of my lifetime, whenever you have a guy who plays like he has a chip on his shoulder, that is always a guy you want on your team as opposed to on the other sideline.
I think it's significant, like you said, for the 500-mile radius, which we don't hear a whole lot about that anymore as we did in a previous regime. And I'm not so sure as you take a look at what the commitment list is right now for Nebraska. Yeah, and I know
top 25 in the country,
right? But
moved in front of Wisconsin.
But I'm when you look at the list of talented players from Nebraska who have made a commitment to this point. We all know that there's going to be, people are still recruiting them, but what is there? 6 of the top 7 or 7 of the top 8 kids in Nebraska have committed to Nebraska. And the Rezak kid is apparently going to Notre Dame at this point. But for the most part, Matt Rhule and his staff have done what they've needed to do, and that is to let everybody know that we want you here, we believe in you, and we believe that you can take us forward. And, you hear so many times, well, you can't win at Nebraska because there's just no recruiting base. Well, if that's the case,
recruiting base has grown quite a bit, to be honest.
Amazingly, what it is now, and maybe that's in part to people like Steve Warren with the Warren Academy up there in Omaha. Coaching in Nebraska has certainly gotten better with the high school ranks and strengthened everything about high school football in the state is better, and Nebraska is investing in it with its the University of Nebraska is investing in it. And I don't say that financially. I mean that we are going after these players because we believe they are quality, and apparently they're good enough for Notre Dame to fly into Ainsworth and for Alabama to come up to Ainsworth and to Omaha, and all these players that are being sought after by so many schools around the country. For Nebraska at this point in the Matt Rhule era, to keep those guys committed to staying home, that's a really, really big deal for the program, but also for the people of the state, which believe so wholeheartedly that you can win with players from around here.
Well, it is the difference for Nebraska when they've had some really high-level teams has been the in-state element, the in-state effect of Phil Ellis, Terry Keneally, and Amon Green, just to name a few. You look at a Dishman or an Anderson, both Andersons, Rob and Mike. Well, I said the baseball coach, but
Weegards.
The Weegards, both the Fremont. Yeah, the Weegards, Zadiska from Lincoln East. I mean, you know, the list of some of the greatest teams. Frosty, of course, from Wood River. So, I mean, it's been imperative to have that home state talent flavor kind of push the understanding in Nebraska to all the other dudes from all across the country that come into Lincoln. And you got to get a guy like Benning in here, and you want him a part of the football team because of his ceiling, yes, but also the optics. Hail Varsity chiming into Hail Varsity told you guys all week to bet the under.
It's Crew and Walter complaining about how slow this Penn State-Ohio State game is. I said it all week. I said 45.5 is too much. People are undervaluing the Ohio State defense. They're undervaluing the Ohio State defense. Penn State's look good. Ohio State is up.
They absolutely got hosed. You had a strip sack for a touchdown for Penn State, and they called defensive holding on Penn State. They wiped away the touchdown.
Can we bring Walter's comment back? The one that he said when we were gone.
Oh, about taking a drink?
Yeah, it was pretty
Being
good.
in the bathroom?
No, not that one.
Harry Carey being drunk on air?
Okay, so yeah, Walter in the stream says, every time someone says freshman wide receivers, take a swing, I think he meant swig, of whatever adult beverage.
Or take a swing.
Take a swing at the adult beverage. Basically splash whiskey all over your room is what he's saying.
Done.
Anytime somebody says freshman wide receivers. But listen, you're going to hear a lot about that because Nebraska doesn't have any other choice right now.
No,
like that, you have to play those guys. And how much is it going to change their mentality? if you're a freshman, you come in, you're behind Marcus Washington, who's a grandpa, and then you got right, and then you got Isaiah Garcia Castaneda, who's also a grandpa, like some old dudes that are grizzled. You're not playing much, right? You just know it. And then those dudes are just now out, and now it's like you have to play. How much does that sharpen you in the meeting rooms? I'm sure Rhule and Garrett McGuire. I'm sure McGuire's come in and been like, "Listen, I know you're older than me, but I want you to listen to me for a second." I would hope that at least one or two of those four has kind of switched their mentality and has started to make that mental transition to like, I got to quit being overwhelmed by whatever, and I got to go contribute to this team
it's
now.
Go do your job. And,
right.
And look, listen, we know that you want to catch go routes and slant routes and stop and goes. But
Malachi's a willing blocker.
We need you to hammer the corner safety. I'm excited to see.
Malachi's done that already. He
this
did that
offense,
against Minnesota.
Right, and that's some buy-in, man.
Yeah.
You got the prestigious diva position of wide receiver. It's gotten that nickname for a reason, but, man, the good ones get dirty. And what's going to be interesting to see is this offense, guys, from a big play standpoint, it doesn't have to be this, oh, man, that ball was put on a dime. It was a gorgeous throw over the left shoulder along the sideline. It can be as simple as a 5-yarder that turns into a 50-yarder to get this offense set up because you have that type of speed now on the field. It doesn't have to be an intricate, crazy play or some sort of sweet scheme design. It can be a simple pitch and catch, and you've got an athlete and athleticism that is out of this world. Can they transition it to Saturdays against like competition when it comes to D1 athletes?
Did we just get the 1-minute warning?
Either that or Elijah is looking for a ring.
Yeah, it could be also Elijah just kind of being like, hey, with these freshman receivers, take a drink. Elijah's like,
no. These first-year split-ends and wingbacks.
Oh, yeah.
Remember those days?
Those were good.
Bobby Thomas and Donnie Westbrook were getting the play in from the sideline from Coach Osborne.
Loved it. We will wind down this first hour. Still an hour to go here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate Weekend Edition continues. Watch the show. Hail Varsity YouTube, Hail Varsity Radio, Twitter. Grenak,
hey,
appreciate you coming by, brother.
Fellas, I wish I could do all 2 hours, but that would be so boring to the kids. So I got to leave.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
The Lower Platte South NRD recreation areas are your local getaway for kayaking, fishing, camping, cycling, birding, horseback riding, and so much more. With over 300 acres of surface water, 1,900 acres of wilderness, and 50 miles of trails, there's something for everyone at the Lower Platte South NRD recreation areas. To learn more and start your adventure, visit lpsnrd.org/recreation.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. You may be aware that online crime is a huge threat, but did you know this problem could be a great career opportunity for you? Cybersecurity experts are in high demand and well paid. You can position yourself for this specialty in months, not years, at My Computer Career, even with no prior IT experience. Learn how you can train for this rewarding career at mycomputercareer.edu. That's mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the GI Bill.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free
This is your station for local news, talk, sports, and weather. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR, Lincoln.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. Some humanitarian aid gets into the Gaza Strip today. The Rafah border crossing with Egypt opening just long enough to allow 20 trucks in, but looks like no foreign nationals got out. More from ABC's Matt Rivers in Cairo.
It wasn't open for very long, and the vetting process that Egypt would do to go through each person, to look at their passports, to interview them, to make sure that they are who they say they are before they're allowed into this country, that will take time. So there's just a simple matter of how long the border can be open for. That has a lot to do with this. And then the other question being for the Egyptians, according to a source in the security forces here, is there's questions surrounding the immediate family members of those with American passports. Let's say you're an American citizen, but you've got family members with you. Are they going to be allowed in? A lot of complications right now at that Rafah border crossing.
And Americans in Gaza telling ABC News the State Department told them to go to the crossing, but it was closed again by the time they arrived. Here at home, protests in Washington. Chants of Free Palestine at the foot of the Washington Monument. In Maryland, the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Police say the car belonging to the suspect in the shooting death of a circuit court judge has been found. The manhunt continues.
Police suspect Pedro Argote shot Maryland Circuit Judge Andrew Wilkinson multiple times, just hours after the judge gave his estranged wife sole custody of their 4 children during divorce proceedings.
This was a targeted attack on Judge Wilkinson.
Police responding to Wilkinson's home around 8 p.m. Thursday after reports of shots fired, finding the judge still alive in the driveway, but he later died in the hospital.
House Republicans back to square one, finding a speaker this weekend. ABC's Mary Alice Parks.
This is crazy, and it's also embarrassing. And that's what we're starting to hear from even Republicans, that in this moment, with so much going on in the world, it is embarrassing to partners and allies that they can't figure this out.
You're listening to ABC News.
Some intimate parts need the gentle, easy trim of a Gillette trimmer. And some need the closeness and comfort of a Gillette Intimate Razor. While others need a Gillette Anti-Chafe Stick. Gillette Intimate, the best a man can get down there. Buy now.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts for the power, performance, and reliability of a new Superstart battery. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Jeff Bryden. Simon Kafka, the Chicago man accused of stabbing a Lincoln police officer in the neck during a chaotic confrontation at the Lincoln Bus Depot early Tuesday morning, appeared in court Friday. Our media partner, 1011 News, reported a judge set Kafka's bond at 10% of $1 million. He's charged with 3 felonies, including second-degree assault on an officer and use of a deadly weapon to commit a felony. Police said Officer Kirby Urbanek, who was stabbed in the neck Tuesday, is now recovering at home. 22 people, including the members of the University of Nebraska Board of Regents, have been appointed to a search committee to find the system's next president. The committee will look for a successor as Ted Carter steps down to become the president at Ohio State University in January. And Nebraska women's basketball player Alexis Markowski Friday was named to the Lisa Leslie Center of the Year watch list when the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame announced the list of the 20 preseason candidates for this award. I'm Jeff Bryden.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Rizumkizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine. Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Total comfort now with Carrier Cool Cash rebates. Call Wellman Heating and Air Conditioning to learn how an efficient home comfort system by Carrier can let you create a healthy, more comfortable indoor environment for your home and lifestyle. With up to $1,575 in Carrier Cool Cash rebates or special financing, explore what's possible with Carrier. Incentives will vary. Ask Wellman for details. Turn to the experts. Wellman Heating and Air Conditioning, your factory authorized dealer for Carrier products. WellmanHeating.com.
Take the wheel and take control of your auto insurance premium with a Drive for Less program from Battle Creek Insurance. When you drive safe, all roads lead to a lower cost on your auto insurance. Simply track your driving habits with your Battle Creek mobile app, and you can save up to 30% on your premium.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Hour 2 is here. It's Hail Varsity Weekend Edition. We're here at the Single Barrel outside the Graduate. So we got the meanest, dirtiest look, like quiet, you know, the old Bill Callahan pre-Oklahoma throat slit gesture from Kranek as we brought up Husker volleyball. Kranek got his lovely family with him, and we asked out loud, so is your dad taking you to volleyball tonight? And Kranek's like, shh, no, quiet. So we'll see if
he's not making Rhule money.
No, and you might need some Rhule money to get into the Devaney Center tonight. Volleyball insider extraordinaire with Counter Read, Brandon Vogel with his author, Dream Like a Champion with John Cook. Vogue's in his football study joins us here, counterread.com at Brandon L. Vogel. Vogues, how's your football/volleyball Saturday going? Thanks for a few minutes today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's going pretty well so far. Ohio State, Penn State are playing a classically Big Ten game, which, you know, is a little bit odd for them. They're usually the ones we see scoring 40-some points. Well, maybe not Ohio State this year. So far, so good.
Kind of interesting to see some home cooking there with a defensive hold, wiping a touchdown away. Maybe you have one of those moments today for Nebraska football with the defense getting a score, or you get set up by special teams, Vogues, as we drill down on Nebraska-Northwestern before we talk volleyball. What are some things you're looking for here for Nebraska to take that, dare I say, step forward in this season of progression?
Yeah, I mean, so turnovers are always big. I think it's interesting in this game in particular. Nebraska got 2 takeaways against Illinois. This Northwestern team's been good. They've only had five giveaways on the year. So that's one of those that, you know, we know Nebraska, at least based on the line, it's about a 10-point favorite, low double digits, call it that to be safe. So they have an edge in this game. If they get a couple of takeaways, I think that's the one that potentially pushes this even more in Nebraska's favor. The other big one I think to watch defensively is sacks. This Northwestern offense has given up a lot. They rank 120th so far this year in sacks. That said, it looks like it's going to be Sullivan at quarterback for the Wildcats, which changes things a little bit. He can run more than Bryant did, and we'll see how that changes things for Nebraska. In some ways, you know, Bryant was the starter for the reason, but I almost think Sullivan might be a slightly tougher matchup for this defense.
Brandon Vogel with us here on Hail Varsity Radio, our Nebraska-Northwestern pregame show. And Brandon, on the offensive side of the football, actually, I'll set this up here. Our friend Walter in the stream says he's playing a game every time someone mentions freshman wide receivers, he's going to take a swig of whatever adult beverage he's enjoying. So whenever you talk about the freshman wide receivers, Brandon, is this a game where Nebraska is going to need those freshman wide receivers to step up in order for Nebraska's offense to move the football? Or do the freshman wide receivers, are they going to be less important in a game like today? I'm just trying to say freshman wide receivers as many times as I can to give Walter a fun Saturday.
Pass out before kickoff, don't you?
But with those freshman wide receivers, I mean, there's going to be a lot put on their plate over the final 6 games of this season, just with how much they're going to have to step up and play without Isaiah Garcia Castaneda and without Marcus Washington, and maybe we'll throw Xavier Betts in there as well. Those guys are going to see the field a lot. Malachi Coleman's going to be a starter. Did the freshman wide receivers need to step up today for Nebraska to get a win, or can Nebraska get a win? Can they move the ball offensively without those guys playing up to the level that Husker fans are going to need from them over the final 6 games of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think Nebraska should be able to run the ball from an efficiency standpoint. Northwestern's not the Northwestern defenses we've seen before, and they're a little bit shakier against the pass than the run. But Nebraska has an edge, at least based on what we've seen to this point running the football. So in that way, I think this is a good game for freshman wide receivers to be freshman wide receivers, in that they don't have to go out there and win it. I think for Nebraska, if you notice them a couple of times, if you see some plays that make you say, "Oh, interesting," then I think that's probably good enough. And when you look at, Nebraska continues to want to get the ball to Billy Kemp more. We'll see if that transpires at some point, because that's kind of been the drumbeat for a couple of weeks. And then obviously, I think Thomas Fidone is emerging as a tight end. Well, has emerged as a tight end that they really trust, and it seems like the connection between he and Harburg in particular is pretty strong.
I'm wondering about these first-year split-ins and wingbacks. We mentioned in the last segment, are they overwhelmed by the, being in college and what's being thrown at them? And you all might be a little more tapped into this than me, but and Elijah, you made said they're divas, not just the guys at Nebraska, but the position has become somewhat known as that collectively throughout all levels of football. Do you think that perhaps they have not been ready to play to this point because they had a little higher expectations for what they would be doing, because they thought what they did in high school would translate to college, and therefore they expected things to come their way a little sooner?
Maybe. I mean, I think with Malachi Coleman in particular, he was the highest rated of that group. Some of the other freshmen, were kind of in that classic like high 3-star range, which is most of the players that are going to get a Power 5 type of scholarship. So I think it's kind of an individual process for each of them. I think with Coleman, maybe the hesitation a little bit was just letting himself cut loose and just kind of go play. There's so much new terminology, et cetera, like the learning the playbook piece of it is there for everyone. And that kind of takes each person their own individual time. So, I don't know if I would put the diva tag on it. And I mean, it's been the case. I was a wide receiver in high school. Wide receivers were divas back then. I know this very well. And that was unfortunately a long time ago. So, we'll find out. I mean, with the way the injuries have broken for Nebraska, like they've got to play essentially, which is another part of the reason I think we're here.
Vogues, what freshman wide receiver thrives?
I mean, I've liked what we've seen from Doss so far, but I mean, I think the smart pick, given that he was mentioned on Monday, he'll be in the starting lineup. He's been in the starting lineup a couple of times, but with the pass catchers, with the rookie pass catchers specifically, it's just kind of like, what do you line up in? If you happen to start in trips, then all of a sudden a guy gets a start for his career, and that's fine. But I think Coleman is the guy. I think he's a quote unquote starter now for a reason. It's probably he's just the biggest of that group of receivers, and we'll see what we can see from him. Nebraska has an opportunity I think to move the ball through the passing game a little bit, and it'd be nice to see him have a multiple catch game.
You get to dust Hankowitz off, bring him back if you're Braun. Nebraska has Coach McBride and Coach Darlington and T.O. all hunkered down in the T.O. suite today. Hankowitz, through all sorts of problems at first-round guys and NFL talent, no matter who he was facing. He obviously retired, and it's weird as telling Elijah and Bill and Kranek, as Northwestern always stays here at the Graduate. They got on their bus and they headed to the stadium, but it's first time ever, really, since we've been doing this show here on Saturdays here at the Single Barrel and the Graduate, that Fitz doesn't roll by and say, "Go Cats" to us. You know, of what we're going through. But I like how Rhule referenced Northwestern and how they've approached this season. And it's something that's pretty impressive for where Nebraska and Northwestern are both at 3-3. Impressive as far as, well, Northwestern's there somehow. That's kind of a wow moment. But Nebraska a chance to really turn a corner in this first year, get above 500. I know that's something you wrote about on Counter Read early in the season, getting the 500. What do you do once you're at that moment?
Yeah, and I mean, this was kind of always their best chance to do it, and I think it's an interesting challenge for Nebraska in this game. And Rhule spoke about it on Monday, talking about how okay, well, we got embarrassed in the second half. Colorado came back, double-digit favorite over Northern Illinois, and we played well. Then not so well, dealing with a little bit of success. Well, your first win of this new coaching regime. You get embarrassed against Michigan. It's kind of easy to push that button after you don't play well. And they came out and played pretty well against Illinois. Now they had the off week in between. That changes things a little bit potentially, but you're expected to beat Northwestern. That's what good teams do is, they play, well, as Rhule put it, he wants a team that plays basically the same every week, which I think most Nebraska fans would happily welcome as well, because it's been a while. The Frost era was kind of defined, in my opinion, by they'd play better than expected when they were down or when they were underdogs. Didn't end up winning a bunch of those games, but they made them tough. Didn't do so well in this spot where they were, expected to win as a decent favorite. So let's see if Nebraska can do it this time, because that would be a real sign of growth, I think, here in year one.
Brandon Vogel is with us here, and go for it, Bill. Actually, if you have some on the tip of your tongue, go for it.
Well, it's interesting that Nebraska, that Northwestern game, what was it, 56-7 a couple of years ago? That was the game that Nebraska, remember, turned a corner under Scott Frost. Turns out they turned a corner into a dark alley and into the wilderness and never emerged again. Okay,
Hansel and Gretel style.
Yeah, I think we go this way now that we've got this win, right? Brandon, for this team to go 4-3 with momentum, as opposed to the last time I think Nebraska was 4-3, they were actually 4-2 and lost, and then kept losing. Now,
when was this?
What was that, 2019 or 18 or something like that, but after, the Illinois game was very positive defensively. They got a Big Ten road win, but then, okay, they got the bye week. Is this bye week going to help or hurt this team? What do you think going into a Northwestern game where they could turn yet another corner positively?
Yeah, I think in this case it'll help. And generally getting that bye week directly in the middle of your season, there's nothing any team can do about it. But I always, for teams that have it, I kind of be like, oh, that's a nice little edge. You're not waiting until week 8 to heal up in some cases. But I also think maybe it helps with that transition that we were talking about there from like, okay, Michigan, you're humbled. You come out and play well. It's not that out of the ordinary. The thing we're waiting to see for Nebraska is dealing with success. And in this case, success is, like you mentioned, Bill, playing well against Illinois and getting the win that you needed to win. So I think having that week off to just kind of like let that win kind of get 1 week further away is probably a good thing. Probably just having a week of practice of hearing, Matt Rhule kind of, I'm sure he talked to the teams, he talked to the media about it on Monday, talk about, let's be the same. He walked up there and did it in a sweatshirt that read 0-0, which seems like kind of a new mantra for Nebraska.
Brandon Vogel with us here, Hail Varsity Radio, getting you all set for Northwestern and Nebraska. Kickoff just over an hour away. And Brandon, the history of this Nebraska-Northwestern series is one of close football games, Northwestern stinging you and really derailing momentum that you may have built in previous weeks. That's what Northwestern has done to Nebraska for years now. And I want to get your thoughts. What's an early warning sign that you're watching for, other than the obvious? Say Northwestern takes an early lead. That would be the obvious. But what's an early warning sign that you're going to be watching for? Maybe something a little smaller scale that shows you Northwestern's going to bring this one down to the wire, and they have a chance at derailing a potential momentum-building win for Nebraska.
Yeah. It's 3 and outs offensively for Nebraska. In our game preview this week at counterread.com, I said anything more than 2 is probably Northwestern getting the best of things a little bit. They have not been that kind of defense. They're not the 3 and out type of team. And Nebraska, they're averaging less than 20 points a game. Like it's been a fight. They've got some explosiveness, probably more than they should for a team that's only averaging that many points. But we know they're going to run the ball as often as they can. They're still up over 60% run on the year. So that's one that I highlighted, and I think you'll be able to see right away, if Nebraska gets the ball first or however their first drive anyway. Like this is a game where they should be able to get a first down or 2. And even if a drive stalls at that point, like that's still, I think, Nebraska is showing the edge that it has. If Northwestern comes out and kind of has a couple of quick stops early, that at that point, I'm thinking game on. I'm no longer thinking this is a 2-score game potentially, but it's going to go down to the wire and be a Northwestern-Nebraska game of the past.
And on the flip side, Brandon, I talked about it a couple of times this week, that this is an opportunity for Nebraska to take that next step. And I see a step in progress of you being in control of this football game early and often. And what is your early sign for that? You touched on it just a little bit there, but what is your sign that Nebraska is taking early control of this game and it's not going to be one that you're going to be stressing down to the final whistle?
Yeah, I think some sacks early on. We'll see. I'll be interested in what Northwestern's kind of run pass split is because they've been a heavy pass team, but they've got the quarterback there, Sullivan, who's got some experience, started, a handful of games last year, started against Howard, and individually played pretty well. Now, 23-20 over Howard isn't wowing anybody. And I think, if Northwestern had won that game more like expected, I think we'd be having a different conversation about this, because all of a sudden then, this Northwestern team, to the job that Braun has done, beats UTEP. UTEP's not very good, but beat them soundly. Has a crazy comeback against Minnesota. And then if they'd handled Howard, you'd be like, it would feel more like they're a 3-3. So we'll see. I think if Nebraska's getting to the quarterback defensively, and third downs, I talked about 3 and outs offensively. Third downs will be another one when the black shirts are on the field, because Northwestern's been a pretty good third down offense.
Is Helinski still an option?
Yeah, he's played this year. He's not their top option, but he's there.
All he did was go 27 of 38, 314, and 2 touchdowns in Dublin.
That was a foreign country, though.
Let's just Dublin. It didn't happen as far as I'm concerned.
I'm going to say first-year freshman wide receiver, just so I can drink on that.
Votes, before we get you out, we need to hear about your breakdown and prognostication. Nebraska-Wisconsin volleyball tonight, and tell the good folks about Counter Read.
Yeah, so after Nebraska football goes out and gets this win, everybody can joyously move over to what I think Nebraska's played a lot of big volleyball matches, but this is the biggest one in the past couple of years. At least that's how it feels to me. I think Nebraska has kind of the firepower on the outside to match up with Wisconsin a little bit better than it has in the past. I think the setter matchup between the two teams is a little bit more even this go round for the Huskers, and then you're going to have a crazy Devaney Center crowd. I'm really excited to see what that looks, feels, and sounds like. I think it'll go 5, and it's going to be, like Coach Cook always points out, a bunch of 2-point matches or 2-point sets. But I think Nebraska's going to get it done in 5.
You locked in your score
Look
prediction
at
there
you.
for volleyball. We're going to need to get the score prediction here for football here in just a second. But who steps up if Nebraska does, in fact, win in 5 this evening against Wisconsin? Who needs to step up and be the MVP for the volleyball team tonight? Because, I mean, you talked about the outside firepower. They're likely going to be without Lindsey Krause tonight. And you wonder who is going to have to step up on that volleyball team. I know Krause has been pretty hot over the past couple of weeks. So who needs to be the MVP?
Yeah, she has been. That's a tough one for Nebraska. So it's Beeson and Murray already shoulder a big load for Nebraska. It's going to be a little bit heavier this match. I think Nebraska, beats a Wisconsin if Harper Murray, who's been amazing, has kind of a career to this point defining performance. If you can go out there and play against a Wisconsin like she's played against everybody else as a true freshman, that's the sort of thing that wins you matches like this. So I'll go with her. On the football side, I think I'm leaning 27-14 Nebraska.
Vogue's counterread.com. It's a must-have.
It is. Thank you. Newsletter from Aaron Sorensen and myself. You can sign up for free and read a selection of what we put out each week. But if you become a paid subscriber, you get 2 of our subscriber-only newsletters each week. Right now, we're publishing about four pieces. So not trying to blow up anybody's inbox too much, though I'm often tempted to just write more. So if you haven't checked it out yet, you can go to counterread.com, sign up for a free trial for 7 days, and check out everything we do from now until next Saturday at the very least.
Do so. Vogues, can't wait to get caught up on your reaction to Nebraska, Wisconsin, Nebraska-Northwestern. Counterread.com at Brandon L. Vogel. Vogues, thanks for making time today.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Appreciate him. There he is, Brandon Vogel. Roadshow, Saturday, weekend edition, noon to 2 here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate. And our friends at Sauter, Heyman, Rick and Company helping power this roadshow. We have basketball excellence to our left. Coach Jeff Smith is here hanging out.
I thought he looked familiar.
Yeah, Coach Smith is here. He's all fired up for Nebraska and the mayor and Fred Hoiberg and company going to try and get some postseason action going. But it is football Saturday. The Iron Horse, Gary Sharp, is on the way. We'll catch up with Gary next here inside the Graduate Single Barrel. Weekend edition continues here on Hail Varsity.
Mammograms, and so much more. That's what our Women's Health Center at CHI Health St. Elizabeth offers you. More spa-style extras like front door parking, warm robes, refreshments, and extended hours for your next mammogram. More peace of mind with the area's only advanced imaging for dense breasts, plus a multidisciplinary team of cancer experts if needed. Our Women's Health Center at St. Elizabeth is more than mammograms. It's complete care for you. Learn more at chihealth.com/Women's Health Center.
Ever wonder why you have to deal with so many people at the dealership just to buy a car? At Anderson Ford, we're different. You work with the same person to help guide you through the process. Right now at Anderson Ford, lease a 2023 Ford Edge for only $375 per month. Experience better at Anderson Ford.
Stock number 1001961, $375 per month. Lease for 36 months with approved credit. 10,500 miles per year, 5,000 with 90. No security deposit required. Tax title and license fees extra. Residency restrictions apply. Program subject to change. Must take new retail delivery from Anderson Auto Group by 10/31/23. See dealer for details.
Imagine having all the money you need for retirement, all the income, every month, guaranteed. That's Secure Future Investor, an indexed annuity tied to growth in the stock market, but without any risk of loss ever. It's guaranteed money for life income, no matter how long you live. Call 888-509-2228. 888-509-2228. Sponsored by GP Agency, Inc., Raleigh, North Carolina. Licensed in all states. Performance may vary. Consult with your financial professional before making an investment decision.
There's a whole lot of savings going on now at Staples. During Staples Sit-a-thon, you can save up to $150 on select office and desk chairs. And when you buy a chair, you save 25% on desks, storage solutions, and office accessories. Plus, your local Staples now accepts Amazon returns. And when you return an Amazon order at Staples, you receive a coupon for $10 off your next $30 Staples purchase. Now is definitely the time to save at Staples. Share offer ends 10/28. In-store only. Exclusions apply on Amazon offer.
That's you trying to fix the plumbing yourself to save a few bucks. Doing things yourself doesn't always end well. The same goes for insurance. That's why Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and offer discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance. Because sometimes you need a professional to get the job done right. That's simple human sense.
Ask Forsyth Insurance Agency if Auto Owners makes sense for you. Go to forsythins.com.
I may not be a celebrity, but my rewards credit card from Members Own Credit Union makes me feel like one. Members Own believes their members should take the lead in their individual financial journeys. That's why I applied for their rewards credit card with low rates and dazzling member services like free financial advice and their famous people first approach to business. Set the stage for success with a rewards credit card from Members Own Credit Union. Go to membersownCreditCards.org for details. Limitations may apply. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Hi, this is Scott Trout of Cordell & Cordell. If you're a dad who's facing divorce, there are extra layers of stress that may include stereotypes and assumptions. No two situations are the same. Our legal experience and dedication prepare us for whatever legal challenges we face together. You need a partner you can count on. For more than 30 years, Cordell & Cordell has represented men in divorce.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for hanging out. Weekend edition is here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate. More and more folks in red milling around as they're ready to sprint towards the old gray lady on Vine Street in 10th. We say hi to the Iron Horse, Gary Sharp. Sharpie, are you in a makeshift press box or deer stand? You're all bunted up. Gary Sharp is with us as we're here at the Single Barrel. We're powered by your friends at Sauter Heyman as Road Show Saturday. Thanks for making time, dude.
Hey, it's just a puffy hoodie. That's all that is. I'm not in a deer stand.
It's glorious. It looks good. You look all hunkered down, ready to go kill Bambi.
Hey, what a beautiful day for football. This could be a huge day for Nebraska. You guys have been talking about this. Like, Nebraska is going to own the Big Ten Network today with football and then volleyball. Mm-hmm. This is the first time that I can ever, and I mean ever, recall that it's probably cooler to have a volleyball ticket than a football ticket today.
Yes, it is. We tried to talk Cranack into, taking his kids to do the double feature, football and volleyball. And we got the with the volleyball price tag it's been attached.
And Gary, you talk about Nebraska owning the Big Ten Network. This must be what Texas felt like whenever they announced the Longhorns back in the day, huh?
Wow. Very, very well put. Nicely done, Elijah, for the win.
Thank you. Thank you. Good. I'll be here all weekend. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, but I'm curious, like, we'll hear after the fact how many people, like let's say, and again, I think Nebraska wins today, and I think they cover, and I don't think you should overthink this. And if it's 24-10, that's a good win. It's not a blowout, but it's a good win. How many people, like, if the game is not really in doubt in the fourth quarter, all of a sudden there are people making a beeline from Memorial Stadium to the Devaney Center? They're like, okay, it's 6 o'clock. I got to beat traffic over to the Devaney Center.
When's the last time folks got the hell out of Memorial Stadium during a win? Left early for a win. I mean, it's been a fire drill.
Yeah,
fire drill a lot of times with these tough losses or blowouts the last 20 years. But now you're praying for a cover for two reasons. One, financially. Two, you can scoot on over to the Bob.
Yeah. Hey, I do think, there is the part of being an 11.5-point favorite, and Bryant's not playing at quarterback, so Northwestern's a different team. I do think it's significant today that Nebraska covers. From the standpoint of, they're coming out of a bye. So they go into a bye, and Nebraska hasn't won since Mike Riley's second year. Now they've lost 7 of the last 9 as a program coming out of a bye. I think it's important today for Nebraska to play with energy and look like, they're not just, I took a week off. Okay, so they look and they come out and they play well. And I don't know on both sides of the ball combined what it looks like for Nebraska to play extremely well, because we're not sure what that really looks like. But I do expect Nebraska to come out and look like they've utilized the bye week and they have bye week energy coming into this. And they also realize the significance of where we're at right now. I mean, you're in a stretch where you could take advantage of a huge opportunity to take a big step ahead of schedule in your program rebuild.
Sharpie, I want to get some thoughts from you on Caleb Benning. I know you've covered him and known the family for a long time, and really cool to see the announcement last night. We know what type of difference maker he's been at the prep level for a lot of years, and always kind of wondering if and when it was going to happen. What's your reaction?
So, I'm happy for Caleb. Lob is a great kid. I've known him since he was little. Of course, my relationship with his father. It's one of those things, like Caleb will not test well. Like if you went and watched him during the summer at like a Friday Night Lights, he's probably not going to test real well. But if you go and watch him at Friday Night Lights in the fall, you'll see why many think he's the best player in the state of Nebraska. And I certainly do. And I've thought that for a long time, as long as he's healthy. He just has a great DNA. He's got great athletic skills. He's especially really good at playing safety. And that's where Nebraska will use him. I will tell you, it's probably frustrated some people how this process has gone because, Caleb has been really quiet about it. He's kind of taken his own time. For people that know him, he's kind of his own kid. He doesn't, he takes after his dad, but he's different from his dad. He's got a lot of attention to detail, and he's very thoughtful in this whole process. And so I knew this was coming. I will tell you that probably Matt Rhule and Evan Cooper, and I will say Evan Cooper more than Matt Rhule, is a big reason why Caleb Benning is committed to Nebraska. He has a great relationship with his future position coach in the defensive backfield. And this kind of changed because I would have told you back in the fall, it was Wisconsin, or back in the spring, I should say, Wisconsin, Kansas State. And Kansas State was really, really aggressive. And I know Damon really liked what Chris Kleiman was doing in Manhattan, but Nebraska stuck with him. They kind of honored his process of he wasn't going to commit early. He wanted to play it out, and he just wanted to wake up some morning and go, Nebraska's the place for me. And that happened recently, and then he announced it yesterday. So I'm happy for Caleb. Nebraska's getting a really, really good player at a position group, guys, that all of a sudden is really, really deep. Right now it is. And if you look and project down the road, they're in a good spot in the back end of that defense.
Such a key element, too, with the way Nebraska's 3-3-5 rolls. You have two safeties and a rover, and you do a lot of cross-training in this defense. You have a fit and a feel, clearly, with what your strength may be in that back end. But, yeah, you need bodies because you have an extra safety or that rover spot. So you want options there. And, his ball skills have been big-time difference-making in high-pressure moments, at least at the high school level. And Kranak is off with his kids right now, getting into the stadium, hopefully getting hammered by a scalper for volleyball tickets.
Or just getting hammered in general.
You drive. Kranak Tanner's 12. But he is physical in the run game, right? And you got to have an element to you if you're going to play for Tony White and Nebraska's defense. But no, Nebraska did their work with this, and there's a lot of happy Nebraska fans just because of the importance of keeping in-state, and then somebody from a profile standpoint. I mean, that West Side team is loaded, and Nebraska has a chance to do work keeping most of those kids in Lincoln.
Yeah. We've all been around long enough. I think combined we have probably, 250, 275 games that we've all seen in Memorial Stadium. But why I say that is because we know how important in-state prospects are to the University of Nebraska. You got to give credit to Rhule. Rhule is a complete outsider, and he came into a position at Nebraska where the high school talent right now is about as deep as I've seen it in a long, long time. And Nebraska's done a really good job of taking advantage of that and working the process. And you look at, this in-state class and this recruiting class that, they'll sign in December and in February. That is a really, really good haul right now for Nebraska because there's really only one player that I think that I would like to see Nebraska offer that they haven't, and they probably won't, and that's Westside's quarterback, Anthony Rizak. But Rhule in 2 years has done a great job in-state in identifying prospects and then going out and reeling them in.
Gary, let me ask you this about beyond this class in Nebraska, because there's 6 or 7 in-state prospects that are slated to sign in December. This seems to be the peak of Nebraska high school football in terms of prospects at Division I. When is it down the road? Is this the beginning of an annual thing where there are going to be anywhere from a half dozen to a dozen D1 prospects in Nebraska, or is this just an incredibly special year?
No, I think, Bill, I think this is going to be a regular thing. And it's not just an Omaha thing. There's going to be a couple of kids every year out of Lincoln. There's going to be then outstate. There's going to be a few kids. But I think in the city of Omaha, we are in a position where we're going to see 5 to 7 high-end Power 5 kids every single year. So Carter Nelson, Caleb Benning get all the attention in this class. I will tell you the priority guy, and he's the best player in the state in 25 is Christian Jones at Westside. He is a generational talent linebacker that you don't see in the state of Nebraska. I watched Tyson Terry play last night at Omaha North. He's a beast on the defensive line, 2-time state champion in Class A at heavyweight. The state is in a good spot because football has become a year-round thing. Kids still play multiple sports, but there is so many things to do outside of your season in the fall for football, whether it be 7-on-7, all of the different former players, most of them are Huskers, like Steve Warren that runs the Warren Academy, where guys can work on their craft nonstop. And I think Nebraska, as a football program, they've embraced that with the high school kids of, hey, let's look at the 7-on-7, and let's also, let's try and help those Warren Academy and those other things outside of your normal season. So this is, we're in a good spot right now, and this is going to continue. And whoever is the head coach at Nebraska should benefit greatly if they do the right thing in recruiting in state.
And Gary, I've said this a couple times. I've really been saying it back since I played high school football, and you can kind of see it with some of the really gifted athletes. College coaches say all the time, we're targeting guys who are multi-sport athletes. And yes, there is something to that athleticism, being able to go excel in multiple sports, but it's also something to have a guy that can excel on the gridiron that does not make it a 12 months a year thing. That, they are playing other sports. They can't dedicate themselves full time to being a football player, yet they still go dominate the high school gridiron. Think about what they can do whenever they can make it a year-round process, getting better for football. That's like, if you read in between the lines on why coaches look for multi-sport guys, that's one of the reasons that, hey, you're not making it your year-round job to be great at football, yet you can still go out and really excel. That's why college coaches love those multi-sport guys.
Yeah, I agree with you, Elijah. I mean, you could say Tyson Terry is wrestling, or Champ Davis at Omaha North is running track, or whoever might else be running track. They're actually still doing football. Mm-hmm. The linemen that go and wrestle, how much it benefits them to play offensive or defensive line. And we're not in a large enough state where, the high schools are so large that you can really only play one sport because there's so much competition. But those multi-sport athletes are, boys or girls, is something great to have. And you see that a lot in this class that Nebraska's signing, is guys aren't just football only. They maybe run football, track. They may play 3 sports as well. And Caleb's one of those guys that plays 2 sports because in the winter he plays basketball at Westside.
Gary Sharp with us, the Iron Horse Weekend Edition, Hail Varsity Radio, here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate 9th and P Roadshow Saturday. And that's powered by your friends at Sauter Heyman. Huge stop, bubble screen by Ohio State to Starvin Marvin Jr. And Penn State was all over it on 4th and goal. They threw the dreaded swing pass to the short side of the field in the flat. Lines are all over it.
Where was, and that's the 4th down play. I mean, neither one of these teams trust their quarterbacks. Does anybody in the Big Ten outside of Michigan trust their quarterback, by the way? Why didn't they run on 3rd down the tush push? Why didn't they run that play?
I don't know why you don't line up and have 2 big guys that play defensive line come in there and push from behind and push it, man. It's not illegal. It someday will be, but just line up and hammer it. Now Aller's in his own end zone.
But why does
it off over the middle?
Here's the scary thing, guys. This is like a Big Ten thing outside of Michigan. Nobody trusts their quarterback. These two coaches don't trust their quarterback. And McCord and Aller have not been good in this game, but they don't put them in positions to succeed. Like they are like, oh, no, 3rd down and 4. You better turn and hand that off.
Well, it's weird, though, at this point in the year, where, I mean, they let McCord kind of let it fly against Notre Dame in the second half. It wasn't over the top, wow, he won it for him, but the leash was off a little bit. Sharpie, I want to get your take, and the drinking game has been invented about freshman wide receivers, and we want to thank Walter for bringing that up. But how big of an impact do you think that is today for Nebraska? I mean, do you expect the presence to be felt heavy, or is it just kind of sprinkled in by Nebraska's offense today with their young guys?
So one thing they've done in the bye week and now leading into game week against Northwestern is they've simplified the offense a little bit because they've had to, because now they're gearing it all around Harburg. So that's going to benefit the track guys who need to become college wide receiver freshmen. They're going to be on the field, but now you have to use them. That's why I expect, you know what? So it was great to see Malachi play more against Illinois. And Malachi's a great story. But you know what? It's time for Malachi Coleman to live up to the investment that Nebraska has made in him. Nebraska needs a return on investment because he's extremely talented. So he's on the field playing. He got dirty and he was a blocker. He finally got a catch against Illinois. I expect him to be used more, but this also becomes him of, hey, you know, you are very, very talented. Got to go make some plays when they're there, you know, because I hope you don't look at this and go, man, Malachi is only good with good quarterbacks. With quarterbacks that struggle throwing the ball, he can't become that great wide receiver. So we're going to find out a lot of him over the last 6 games, but Nebraska needs him to be good. And then I think you'll see a little bit more of Jalen Lloyd today. Doss is a little bit of a, you know, work in progress because he's coming back from that injury. But I really expect them to see what they have in Malachi. And that's a good thing for Nebraska for the finish of this year and beyond.
Gary, I said this back in hour 1. I want to get your thoughts on it. I said that the most important thing the wide receivers can do today is not take the top off the defense or provide an outlet for Heinrich Harburg. It's to block downfield and open some longer rushing lanes, some bigger, more explosive plays through the running game, and it's through that downfield blocking on the edge. Do you agree with that? Am I off base? What are your thoughts?
No, I think you're right. And today is a run the ball game, guys. I mean, Northwestern is atrocious stopping the run, and Nebraska's been able to run the football. And so just line it up and run. You know, I could see Nebraska running it 45, 50 times today, but they still have to pass the ball. They have to keep people honest. But you're right. The run game with the wide receivers, that's important to block. But at some point, they got to get loose. And I don't know if those slow developing routes are going to work for Nebraska in their current scenario with pass blocking and Harburg, but they have to scheme to get guys open. That's why I'm very curious on what the offensive wrinkles, a little tweak here or there look like so that they're not calling plays. We talked about this before, not calling plays for what Nebraska wants to call plays for, but what are they calling for Harburg that helps those wide receivers get open so that they can get their hand on the ball and it's not just as a blocking person downfield.
If it's going to be a running game today, who runs the ball? Is Anthony Grant going to get 23 to 25 carries? Is it Harburg who's going to carry it 19 times?
It depends on Anthony Grant.
Is it Fleeks? Yeah. You know, that's a question, you know, as we talk about the Nebraska run game. Who is the – look, they're not playing against Michigan. Nobody could run the ball against Michigan. Anthony Grant certainly couldn't do it. What was it, 6 for 16 yards? But if Nebraska is going to run it 40 or 50 times, who's getting the bulk of those carries?
That's a great question, Bill. That's a great question because, you know, I mean, we all are like, okay, we know Anthony Grant's issue, but, man, there isn't much behind him, so Anthony Grant's going to be the one guy. Satterfield is talking about him this week, and I'm like, whoa, that's kind of interesting. I think they got to go back to Anthony Grant, but you're still going to see a lot of quarterback run game. I don't know how much it'll be like true option. So I think Harburg from here on out is still going to carry it 14, 15 times. But you're right, Bill. Anthony Grant to me is one of the most important people in the second half of the season because they need him to hold on to the ball. But, man, Nebraska needs like an Indiana-Rutgers game from last year out of Anthony Grant. They need one of those 25, 26 carry games where he's over 100 yards, you know, and maybe that's today. But he's someone to watch. But it's a good question because you really have Harburg, you have Grant. I think you'll see a little bit of Johnson. But after that, who's out there to run the ball out of the quarterback handoff game?
And I implore, I'm not his agent, but I keep wanting to say to Anthony Grant, you have NFL talent, but you have cost yourself a lot of money with every drop of the football. And right now, you're probably in that undrafted free agent status. But if you can have, as you said, Gary, second half of the season, you might get yourself into a position where you at least secure yourself a job in the NFL for training camp, okay?
Yeah.
Because he's just too good of a talent when he does hold on to the ball. And if he can do that the second half of the season and be a consistent 15 to 25 carries for 75 to 125 yards, you're going to Indy with me.
Yeah, you're
Bill's
you know,
got a room booked for Indy, Sharpie.
Well, I think they coach him really hard because they coach the Anthony Grant on and off the field to get him from day to day, so that's part of the process. You know, there's also going to be the thing about Anthony Grant is, guys, what do we think of Anthony Grant? You know, Nebraska needs Anthony Grant because they're down to the guy that was third on the depth chart, but some people thought he was the best running back. Do we really know how good Anthony Grant is? So this is the time to find out. This is like the shakeout time of the year of, you know, Nebraska, when they run the next three before they hit the last three, who is really truly your best players that you can count on if you get to Maryland, and there's a lot of things that are out there still to be obtained. So the next couple games for Anthony are pretty important. And I hope he's taken to heart everything they've said, because they do coach him hard because they know how much they need him to be an asset for Nebraska and not a detriment where he's standing on the sidelines next to them because they can't trust him. You know, I don't think their trust tree on offense is littered with people. I think it's very, very small. Anthony Grant's not in that trust tree right now.
And he faded second half of last season.
Yeah, and when
this point last year, where all of a sudden witness protection.
Yeah, and those were against when there were some of the better defenses at the end of the year. Anthony really struggled. And, you know, it was not just Anthony Grant. There were a couple of other things. So today is one of those days to, like, you know, get guys loose, make them feel good about each other. And that's why I think 23 should get a heavy dose today.
And if they die, they die.
He die.
You don't die on your knees, right? Sharpie, we'll get you out of here on this. Do you have a prediction, a feel tonight for volleyball? Do you think Nebraska can they've lived up to so many moments. They've been such a great ambassador to this state, not only with their level of play and how great they've been, but they've also carried the water for, you know, a down football program. They've been incredible under John Cook. Do they surprise tonight because they're probably underdog?
Yeah, it hurts having Krause out because she's really good, and Batenhorst hasn't been consistent. If they can stay in system, they got a shot. That's a great Wisconsin team they're playing. It should be great. I hope it goes 5. I don't know, guys. I think the Wisconsin comes in here and wins. But remember, it could be just one of 3 matchups this year, more important in December. Tonight's kind of like for the psychological part of it. But I think it's going to be a great showcase for volleyball. I just think Wisconsin right now is in a better spot than Nebraska is. Playing this match in October, when they meet Thanksgiving weekend in Madison, I think Nebraska will be in a different spot.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's all about ramping up and kind of get the feel tonight, play well, play hard, and give the crowd something to cheer about, and then reset by November. Sharpie, give me a prediction today. You say what, 23?
I went 24-10. Nebraska covers. It's not a blowout, but I think it'll be a solid win where you're never really uncomfortable. And that defense continues to play well, and that defense holds Northwestern below 100 yards rushing. Remember, Nebraska defensively against bad offenses has eaten them up. I expect that to continue today.
So how does Northwestern get 10 points?
They will get a late touchdown. Okay. And they will kick a field goal at some point in the first half.
Okay. There's the math. Sharpie, enjoy your Saturday. Appreciate you much. Thanks for jumping on with us today.
Hey, thanks, guys, as always.
All right, there he is, the Iron Horse, Gary Sharp. Weekend edition of Hail Varsity on the Road, powered by Sauter Heyman. As we're here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate. We're back here next Thursday, which is awesome. Here for Thursday, and then next Saturday, same time, noon to 2 for Nebraska-Purdue. And Monday, we are just a little bit over a block. 10th and P at your friends at Rosie's for Monday Night Football and some Big Ten rewind as we get next week kicked off. Elijah, you're geared up. Real Red Reaction.
Yes, sir.
You and I will have a halftime hit with thoughts on the first half, Nebraska-Northwestern. You and the crew get post game.
You forgot you was on the post game show, didn't you?
Well, no, I think it's you and Motzi, right?
Yes. There's one more.
And is Connor?
No. Well, maybe we'll see. Connor's a maybe at this given time. There's one more name.
Well, it's Hooksy, right?
No, it's Tim Bob.
Oh, Tim Bob Kidsmiller.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that, but I saw fear in your eyes.
No, it's a Saturday thing.
I want to take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's a Saturday thing. So right now, the Martin Scorsese Killers of the Flower Moon preview just jumped out in front of us.
So excited
Some
for that.
sick bastard went full Iowa on this. Killers of the Forward Pass with the same movie poster, and it's got Kirk holding Brian close to his chest. So someone went real creative with the movie poster.
And as it turns
option.
out, as it currently stands, it doesn't look like you need a forward pass to win the Big Ten West. So, hey, maybe
don't
that's
think
cause
so.
for encouragement for Nebraska moving forward.
We're going to show you what we're talking about here.
Yeah, that's pretty
on
funny.
the stream. Pretty good. Well, as always,
people are funny.
They are. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. Get the podcast downloaded, and can always watch the show on YouTube channel, Hail Varsity YouTube channel, Hail Varsity Radio Twitter feed at HVarsity Radio, and also streaming on KFOR Sports and KFOR Facebook. Big thanks to everyone who chimed in on the stream.
Oh, my gosh. Walter and Dion and Red Wine.
Yep.
These guys have been going at it all day today.
Rick's been great as well. We appreciate everyone.
Yeah, Rick, we appreciate you.
Yep.
And the Real Red Reaction follows for sure. Elijah Herbal and crew tonight. I'll chime in as well. Nebraska Northwestern follows. Talk to you next time with Hail Varsity. Thanks.